Hello everybody out there, and welcome to our newest meeting with Mike Sullivan and events down at the Town Hall and the Medfield in general. So Mike, I think the biggest thing we had recently was the special town meeting.
Yes, yeah, that was Monday the 23rd of March. And we had, I'd say, probably, I'm not sure the numbers, but I'd guess around close to 400, I would think. So, and there were two articles on that. The first article passed unanimously. That was for appropriation and a bonding authorization of $700,000 to build a, I have to remember how to say the solar photovoltaic array, so, which basically means solar panels.
That's exactly what it is.
At the wastewater treatment plant, which probably most people know as the sewer treatment plant. So, but that should save us, it should start paying for itself the first year. It's the principal and interest payments, we estimated at about 4% interest rate, so it's about $94,500. And the energy savings should be around 37% of the electricity costs of the building. And I think last year they ran about 110,000. Really so that should be around 40,000 energy savings. And then they have something called SREC credits. And SREC stands for Solar Renewable Energy Credits. And I noticed they have these enclosures that they send out with the utility buildings every once in a while, telling you what proportion of energy is generated from renewable sources. And the utilities are required to purchase energy from renewable sources. And that's how they do it. They buy these credits. There's a market for them, and they buy the credits, and we get, I think, one credit for each 100 kilowatts that we generate. So when you sell those, we should get somewhere around 70,000 a year in sales of the credit. So between the energy savings on the electricity and the credits, sale of the credits should be in excess. I think it's about $16,000 over the principal interest cost on the bond. So that's a good deal, and so that passed unanimously. There was no question that it was not a good thing for the town.
And then the public safety thing came up, and I was probably, and I've been going to town meetings now for 51 years. I think that was by far the best presentation I have ever seen at a town meeting.
It was. I think because that Permanent Planning and Building Committee has been working on this for 2 years, along with the police and fire chiefs, and they were really prepared. They had had probably 50 different meetings. They had had a number of public hearings, a number of open houses, so they were prepared for just about any question that could be thrown at them.
But the speaker was dynamite.
Yes, I think all the speakers I think Greg Sullivan from the Warrant Committee did a really nice job, and I think John Nunnery and Mike Quinlan did a nice job, and then the chief speaking.
Yeah, I did too. I was
about
really
the conditions of the buildings. Yeah.
I was stunned by the fact that nobody came up to the microphone, including some people that sat around me and were going to vote no, because they had told me before. But nobody went up and made a single negative comment or negative question.
Yes, yeah. There were a couple of questions about the size of the building and certain features like the clock tower and that, but I think in general they answered everything in their presentations, so there really weren't a lot of questions. So the override, we still don't know the results of the override. That's on the ballot for the town election, which is today, the day we're filming this, so we won't know the outcome until later on in the day. And you never know, it depends. Sometimes the people who vote are different than the people who go to town meetings, so you don't know. The difference is the vote at town meeting requires a 2/3 because you're involved borrowing, and the override, debt exclusion override, is the majority vote.
At the ballot,
yeah. So, but I think it was a good idea having it as part of the regular town election.
I do too, because it saves money too.
Saves money, and it's. I think you get a better cross-section of the voters, because particularly in this case, the only contested race is the school committee race that's being contested, but I think that'll bring out quite a few people. It seems to be a pretty actively contested election between the two candidates. So we'll see. I don't know. I went and voted early this morning, and seemed to be a lot of cars in the parking lot, whether they were the election workers or the people holding the signs at the entrance to the parking lot. It could have been a lot of it, but there seemed to be certainly more cars than you see at the usual town election.
Yeah. So. It's hard, it's always hard to know.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how people are voting, but you can't tell, and I don't ask them. If they offer their opinion, then I say yes. But
yeah. So, and I guess they cancel all the events at the center the day, can they still have some of the classes down there?
Today?
When they have the election, yeah.
I don't know what they're having today.
I think they cancel the lunch, but I think they're able to still have some of the other
They're
events
allowing us to have the bridge at night.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But good. I don't know about the other things during the day.
Well, of course, that's down the other end of the building, too. You use one of the rooms down the far end of the building.
And the election will be over, pretty much over by the time we don't start till 7, and the election was over at 8, so it shouldn't be much of a conflict.
So, and then next week the selectmen will reorganize, and I don't know about the other boards. Some of them do it before the town election, some of them do it after, but the selectmen do it after, and usually there's with selectmen, there's a rotation, so the next person in the line of rotation will be Richard DeSorga, so I assume that he will become chairman and Pete step down. So
that's the usual.
Yeah.
I can remember times when that didn't go that way when I was writing for the newspaper years ago.
It could be, yes. I think I remember when I first came, Harry Kelleher had been chairman for something like 8 out of 9 years.
He went 9 years,
so,
chairman.
And that was primarily the others didn't really want it, so it was, he was glad to do it, and the others were glad to have him do it.
There was one man that really wanted to be, though.
Oh, okay. I think that was before I came, because I remember
he really wanted it, and the others would not vote for him.
Yeah.
He was very upset.
Well, yeah, I can see that. That would be disappointing if you were.
I think the rotation's a good thing.
I do too.
Unless there's some special reason, if somebody's sick or I don't know, have some illness.
Or some people just don't have an interest in doing it. Some people, want to be a member of a group, but they don't want to necessarily be the leader of the group. So.
I can remember the reluctance of some people to be on town committees because they don't want to be on Medfield TV.
Yes.
And they're very uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. Well, we've been lucky over the years, though. We've had a lot of people that have stepped up and volunteered to be on committees, and the town really couldn't function without them. I think we have an amazing range of talented people that live in the town, and fortunately a lot of them have been willing to donate their services to the townspeople. So, and it's a variety of different areas. We go from education, library, park and rec, selectmen, permanent building committee, board of health. It's crazy the number of services that we really offer in town. So
Steve Nolan is one of my unsung heroes in this town. The amount of hours that he has spent
I think Steve
on the town is enormous.
And I think Tim Bonfatti has also put in a larger numbers. And of course, every time you mention people who have done, you forget some and you leave someone out, and so it's.
I just said one of the unsung heroes. I didn't mention some of the others because some people get recognition, and they deserve it, but some deserve it and they don't get it.
Yes, and there are a lot of people that donate their time and their efforts outside of the town government. They'll do it for like the Angel Run, or they'll do it for the Girl Scouts or the Little League. There's a lot of people who are contributing, but not necessarily through the town government, but they contribute just as much because they help keep those programs running and keep the town a nice place to live. I remember 20 years ago I used to hear the kids use the term deadfield to describe Medfield, and you don't hear that much anymore.
They did it even 40 years ago.
Yes, but now, I think there seems to be more things to do. I don't know that downtown is sparked up a little. The playing fields have been improved. The music program is really good. So I think it's a little more active, and I think people are enjoy the. Now I noticed this summer, the number of people that were walking around the center at night. You never saw that in the past.
It's very healthy. I like it too.
Yes, yeah. So hopefully we'll continue to improve. I guess there's still going forward. I think they've had their hearing for a restaurant in where the Master's Touch, Will's Hardware was, depending on how long you lived here.
Are you comfortable giving the name of the person who's applied for it? I happen to know it, but I don't know whether it's...
Yeah, I don't know whether he's comfortable, and I don't know whether and I'm not sure. A lot of times it isn't the person who you think applies for it. It's a corporation, LLC, limited liability corporation or something, so you really don't know who's behind it. But that will be a nice improvement to downtown.
Where would they park?
Well, they would park, they'd only be open nights for one thing, so my understanding is they would not be open for lunch or breakfast or... So, and there isn't as much of a parking problem in the downtown area at night. Okay. So I think they probably use the town parking lot behind that building. But the owner of the property, Dave McCready, is the one who actually bought that building. He suggested that he'd be willing to, a lot of that land behind the building that looks like it goes with that building actually is town land. And he suggested that he could put about 15 parking spaces on that what's now dirt area, and that it would be open to everyone. It wouldn't be restricted to the tenants in his building because it's town land. But he'd pay for the cost of putting the lots in.
That's a good move.
The other thing we're taking a look at, Ken Feeney has been taking a look at the possibility of putting a parking deck over the existing parking lot.
That I like that idea.
Yeah, because it's in a natural hollow anyway, and I think it would work out pretty well. I don't think that's in the immediate future. I think it's, with all the other capital projects the town's been taking on, it would have to get in line. But I think that would make a lot of sense, not just for that building, but for the entire downtown, for the library and town hall and whatnot.
Will they be asking for a liquor license?
I'm sure they will be.
I'm just thinking the proximity to the Baptist church.
Well, there used to be a law a long time ago that you couldn't, if you were within, I think, 500 feet of a church.
It was 500.
The church could oppose if they opposed the liquor license, it wouldn't be granted. But then somebody challenged that. It was some case that came up in Cambridge, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was, it wasn't Grendel's Den, it was one of those restaurants right in Harvard Square, and it was near a monastery, I think. I think it was some sort of monastery, and they objected, and it was denied, and one of their customers, I believe, was a Harvard law professor, and he challenged it and took it to the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court and won. So now they cannot... they can object, but it isn't mandatory. They can't necessarily stop it. So, and I'm not sure that. I mean, we have other restaurants that are probably within 500 feet of. I don't know whether it's pretty close. The United Church of Christ to Noon Hill Grill. That might.
Oh, it is actually probably. I'm not good measuring footage, but I'm not sure if it's 500 feet or not.
Right, and they didn't seem to, they never objected when the Noon Hill Grill got a liquor license, so I don't think there's much of a problem. And then the Unitarian Church is within 500 feet of Zebras.
Yes.
So, by the way, I don't know if you're aware, there's a sign out front of Zebras now because their chef is one of the guest chefs on a program called Hell's Kitchen, I think it's called.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, so I guess he's still on it as far as I know. So I guess they eliminate them over time until they come up with a winner. So it would be nice for Medfield if he won, but it's kind of a nice recognition that he's even on the show.
For a small town, I think that's terrific.
Yes, yeah. Surprising how many things, when you look at, we had house that was built with the Extreme Home Makeover show. We had a couple of movies that were filmed, one entirely in town, and a couple of other scenes from other movies filmed in town.
Yep.
We had a documentary done on, what was the one that won the Academy Award a few years ago?
Shutter Island.
Perfect Mind. No, that didn't win the Academy Award.
No, but it was up for it.
But it was up there, yeah. Did it get nominated? I didn't think it got nominated.
I don't know whether it officially got nominated or not, but that was in the running.
Yeah. But there was it was the one that actually won the Oscar, I think, A Beautiful Mind.
Oh, that's right.
Well, somebody did a documentary, and it was very different than the Hollywood version of the man's life. I think it was much more realistic, and a lot of that was filmed in Medfield. So we have had, for some reason, we seem to be a popular place for a lot of those events that.
Why not?
Or, yes, yeah.
Anything new going on about the tavern or whatever on Main Street?
My understanding that still is tied up in the courts. I don't know when a decision. I would expect shortly there'd be some kind of a decision coming down. And then I understand there's somebody would like to put a 72 unit assisted living facility in there. With, I think it has an 18 unit secure facility for memory impaired residents. So that is still in the beginning stages. I don't know where that will end up, but so it's been pretty active. And of course, then the state hospital committee has been meeting. They have a couple of articles on the warrant for the annual town meeting. One to do a master plan for the state hospital property, and to finish the cleanup up there. I guess they're pretty close to cleaning up the land along the river. That won't clean up the buildings themselves, but the town assumed that responsibility when I took over the purchased the property from the state.
I know.
But that's moving along. Steve Nolan, as you mentioned earlier, he's chairman of that committee and is keeping things moving along relatively quickly. They just hired a consultant to do their master plan process. So they expect to have that, I think, done by next April. So it'll be about a year before they get the results of that. And we had put a fence in the process of putting a gate in up there to restrict the access for vehicles to one entrance.
Okay.
And we'll see how that goes. All the buildings have been secured, and the police are able to patrol through there. We're in the process now of getting bids for mowing and plowing, mainly mowing the grass up there. There's quite a bit of grass, so that'll probably be a considerable expense because it's a large area. Some of the areas we'll try to get the farmers. I know there was a farmer from Sherburne, I believe, that hayed a lot of the fields, so it'd be nice if they could continue to have that done. So,
yes, it would be.
Yeah. And we actually had a group that wanted to come in and tap the trees up there to make maple syrup.
Really?
Yeah, a group out of Natick.
I like that.
They've done it in past years in Decam, and they wanted to do it again, but the winter turned out to be a little bit too severe for them to get to some of the sites in time for the tap the trees, so they didn't do it.
Maple syrup will be more expensive next year then, huh?
I guess so, yeah. Certainly Massachusetts made maple syrup.
Yeah.
Maybe it's easier up in Vermont because I don't think they get quite as much snow as we did down here. So, but it's I'd like to compliment the Public Works Department. I think they did a really nice job of keeping the streets open and working with the schools to keep the school closures to a minimum. We only had 4 snow days this winter. Now, we probably would have had more because one of the storms occurred during a school vacation week, but I believe they allot 5 snow days in the school calendar, and we only use 4 of them. So
you forgot snow is a 4-letter word now.
Yes, it is. It certainly is after this winter, yes. And if we, but if it snows in May or June, they still have 1 snow day left in their calendar. So I've
gotten unbelievable number of comments from people about the condition of the streets from the Public Works, what a great job they have done.
Yes, yeah.
People are very impressed. Even people that are negative about everything have been very, very positive about their work this year.
And I think a lot of it too was when you saw the news reports from Boston and some of the cities with how horrible the conditions were for drivers, and then the T shutting down. I think people realized that it was one hell of a job, I guess I can say that word on TV, that they did in keeping the streets open as well as they did. Yeah, because it got tough, with that. There was no melting in between, and so what they plowed back turned to ice, and they had to keep pushing it back. Otherwise, there were a couple of cases where they were worried about school buses being able to pass each other going in opposite directions. So,
and visibility, of course, is always a problem at a corner.
Yes, yeah. One thing that did help, I talked to Ken Feeney about this, was the Newtown Garage, because the mechanics bays in there, they have a crane and a pit and everything else, and so a lot of when the equipment broke down, they were able to repair it in-house instead of having to send it out. So they were in a much better position to keep up the number of pieces, number of trucks that were out on the roads. And actually, Ken told me it was the pickup trucks that were having more breakdowns. The bigger trucks could handle the deep amounts of snow, but the pickup trucks, especially after it froze in place, had a tough time. So, and we had 2 snow blowers, which helped a lot too, because they were able to go out at night and cut away a lot of the snowbanks and load them on the trucks much quicker than if they tried to do with a front end loader. Those I think are pretty well shot now. I think they've got to go out for some major repairs after all the work they've done. And anyone who had a snowblower this year knows about snowblower breakdowns. So we experienced the same thing with the DPW.
Yeah, I'm sure they have.
Blowers, but it was great having them there. That's one thing I get appalled when I see the prices on some of these pieces of heavy equipment. But boy, when you need them, they're great to have, as the case with the Mack trucks and the snow blowers and the front end loaders this year. One of the things that I'm sure everybody realized that it was a problem when you came out from the end of a street entering into another street, how difficult it was to see because of the piles of snow.
Absolutely.
So they were able to go around at night again and load the snow. And we had a snow dump. It was actually behind the swap area at the transfer station, and that filled up. It was. I went down with Ken Feeney one day, and we drove through, and it looked like Antarctica down there. It was just this huge area, just snow piled up. So, but luckily, I think the best part is we had a slow melt, so it didn't.
And that was great.
Yeah, we were worried that if we had a quick warm up and then rain on top of it, we would have had a lot more problems. But Mother Nature, in spite of not being so good to us in January and February, overall it's been pretty good in March by not heating up too fast. So.
And let's hope very, very good in April. I have had enough of this stuff.
I think we all have, yeah. I said to somebody when I went to vote this morning, I was talking to somebody coming out, and I said, whoever would have thought that 30 was warm. But after you've been down to 5 below zero, 30 does seem like a heat wave. But then the town meeting now is coming up at the end of April, the last Monday in April. I believe that's the 27th.
Okay, we should have you on one more time before that.
Yeah, there's 40 articles. A lot of them are routine articles, but there's a couple of interesting things. There's a $551,000 request for to replace the boilers at the Wheelot School, which, believe it or not, are the original boilers. Now, the Wheelot School must be close to 50 years old now, I think.
Oh, no, because it was my kids were in 4th and 5th grade.
Well, I've been here
maybe 45 years.
Yeah, because I know I've been here 40 years, and it was here when I came.
So it'd be more like 43, 44, 45 years.
Yeah, well, getting close to 50, yeah.
They had to do half days at Dale Street for a while until the Wheelot School was...
Oh, that's when they had the double sessions or something.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So it was hard to do Christmas shopping.
Yeah. And then there's the Charter and Bylaw Review Committee has put in a couple of articles, one to allow the cemetery commissioners to establish rules and regulations, but they did put a proviso in the rules and regulations have to be approved also by the Board of Selectmen, and would allow them to establish fines for violation of the rules and regulations. And then they put one in about noise, and I know there was a noise bylaw proposed a number of years ago, I think when Harry Petoni was on the board, and that was defeated at town meeting. But this one only applies to commercial and industrial uses. It doesn't apply to the homeowner using the leaf blower or their, and snow's exempted, so you can continue to use your snow blower. And I believe commercial industrial, they can use them between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. And there are some restrictions on definitions of what constitutes noise. It doesn't get very technical. It doesn't establish a decibel level where you have to have equipment to go out and measure it. It just regulates them between certain hours. And so we'll see. And then what else is on the warrant? There's the capital budget and the operating budgets. I think budgets are up probably overall by about 4% this year. School budget, that was originally submitted at 5.4% increase, and they've cut that, I believe, by 1%. I'm not sure if the school committee's voted on that yet, but I believe the superintendent is recommending about almost $300,000 cut in the school budget, so that'll bring it down to about a 4.4% increase. And some of the town budgets are down. The solid waste budget is down, and that's primarily, well, it's two things. One, people are doing a great job recycling.
Yes, they are. They're doing much better.
Between the single stream recycling and the swap area. And also, we were one of about 20 or 30 towns that negotiated a contract for the Millbury incinerator, and it was a 20-year contract, and we're coming up on the 10th year. Okay. And Walpole actually spearheaded this. They renegotiated the contract and got the tonnage rate for the trash disposal lowered. I think it went from about $78 down to about $64, I believe it is now. And then it will start going up again after 18 months, I think, at that rate. Then it will be adjusted annually. But that saved us probably $30,000-$40,000. So there aren't a lot of articles calling for money. There is an interesting article the Board of Health put in for a what do you call it? Needle disposal program, because it's difficult, and I get annoyed. The companies that sell these, the CVS and Osco and whoever else sells them, Walgreens, I guess, although we don't have any Walgreens here, but they won't take them back, so they leave it up to the taxpayers to handle the disposal costs. And the Board of Health has come up with a program. They're going to buy a container and get a contract with an outfit to come, I think, once a month, and they take the needles and dispose of them safely, and they sanitize the container. And so they're going to spend about $4,000 to buy the container, and then I think the annual contract to actually pick up the needles and sanitize the collection container is about $2,000. So they come up with a very good solution, I think, to that. I'm still annoyed. It reminds me of the plastic bottle.
I know.
Where the guys making huge profits on bottled water, accusing the politicians of being greedy. I'm saying, who are they kidding?
And who is greedy?
Yes, they charge about $350 for what we charge about $3.50. So they're making huge profits on it, and they don't want to accept responsibility for the disposal of the containers. So, and they get away with it. They spent, I think, $3 million on a campaign to have that defeated at the polls. So now, as a taxpayer, you're going to have to pay to dispose of those bottles that you're already paying enormous amounts. I mean, if you pay $1 for a bottle of water, it's probably worth less than a penny.
But
if you buy it in bulk, yes. But they can get away with it. So.
And they do get away with it.
Yes, yeah. And it's the same thing with these disposals, not the same level of profit, but they just won't take responsibility. Anything they can stick with the taxpayer for disposal costs, they'll do it. So.
I have a son who's diabetic. I wonder what he does with his needles.
I don't know.
I don't know. I should ask him.
Some people were putting them in coffee cans and putting them with the regular trash, which is
down in North Carolina. I don't know if they have any provision in North Carolina for it at all. I don't know.
Sometimes they're a little bit behind us in terms of programs like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question to ask him.
Yeah, yeah. And let me see what other articles. There's 4 zoning changes to try to, a lot of people every time they want to do something, put on a deck or do something, they have to go to the Board of Appeals and pay a $200 application fee and then wait a couple of months for a decision. So the planning board has proposed some changes that would make that a little bit easier and give the building inspector a little ability to review some of these and make minor changes. Then it's always very difficult. How do you define the height of a building? Do you do it from the foundation to the top floor, or
from
the
bottom
foundation?
Of the basement up.
Bottom of the basement up, and you got walkout basements.
Yeah.
How does that affect it? So they're trying to clarify that. And so there's 4 zoning changes that are being proposed. And the planning board has to have public hearings on those prior to town meeting, so they should be coming up.
At the special town meeting, one of the things people commented on was that the warrant committee was unanimous.
Yes.
And they say, that doesn't happen very often. I was on the warrant committee. I don't remember a single unanimous vote in the 5 years I was on that.
Yes, yeah.
So people were very impressed by the 9-0 vote.
Yes, yeah.
So maybe that'll happen at town meeting for some of these.
And it was not just the warrant committee on that. It was the selectmen. The school committee actually took a vote on the public safety building, and they were unanimously supportive as well. So I think that always helps, that...
It was the warrant committee that people commented on that.
Yeah.
Very surprised, because there are 9 of them. It's hard to get 9 people to agree on anything.
Yeah. I always kid the warrant committee. Over the years, I've said, every other committee in town is the yes committee. Yes, we want this program. Yes, we want this money. And the warrant committee is the no committee. They have to say, no, we can't afford it.
I think that's what was so impressive to people, that the 9 yeses.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's a lot to take on, but I think Medfield has always been willing to step up to the plate when they've had programs. I remember, particularly the senior center, a lot of people didn't see why we needed a senior center and why we were spending $3 million to build a senior center and why it had to be so big and why it had to have so many parking spaces. And now, it's constantly used. It's been a great asset to the town, and I think helping seniors to stay here and giving them some
that was the biggest reason I voted for it.
Yeah.
So many people said it would help keep them in their town, and in their houses.
And I think that's proved true. I think they have. So, and it was the same thing with the town garage. I can't imagine what we would have done this winter if we hadn't had the town garage finished. We finished it around September, and as I said, just having the mechanics bays accessible for quick repairs made a big difference.
But good timing with that bad storm season coming up. It was perfect timing.
Yes, yeah. And we all thought we were getting away easy this year,
I did too.
Through the middle of January, I was saying, when are we going to have a winter? Yeah. And we sure got it in spades when we did get it. So,
was anything else going on?
I think we've talked about, the water tower is under construction now.
Okay.
They started that up. They had a tough winter. They managed to get the foundation in prior to the start of the snow, but now they're back up there, and I understand they're starting to put the tower portion up.
I should get
look. Yeah, so that'll be a good one to get done, and we're hoping when it's done to get some revenue from rental of space on top for the cell towers.
Yep.
So, but that they're expecting that to be done around October or November.
That'd be a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. And we've been meeting with the railroad people about the railroad crossing at 109. It's been deteriorating pretty badly, so we need to get together with them and going to make some repairs to it. But that's the other thing too, is the MBTA, with all the financial problems they have, they were, and this came up very quickly, there's rumors that Mr. Kraft may be behind it in some regard. But they wanted to purchase the rail line that goes from Framingham to Attleboro or something for $23 million. And then somebody said there was another $89 million it was going to cost them to upgrade the line. Mm-hmm. And the feeling is, who's going to use it? But we have had some information that there's some beacon station that's somewhere in, I think around Braintree or Quincy or someplace in that shut down recently, so that now all the freight coming out of Cape Cod, the New Bedford area, and the Fall River area has to use this line. It's the only connection to get up to Framingham.
Oh, okay.
So we may be getting more freight instead of passenger service in the next few years. And of course that really ties up the traffic in the center when those trains come through to a fairly well. And we had an incident a couple of weeks ago where the guys, I guess, frequently will stop in Medfield Center before they cross 109 and get something to eat at Subway or Dunkin' Donuts or one of the sandwich shops, and they didn't realize the train was as long as it was, and the other end of the train hadn't cleared South Street, blocked South Street up, around evening rush hour. So,
yep.
Fortunately, that was a one-time event. I don't think it will happen again. I'm sure they was quite embarrassed about that one. So. And those things do happen, but it was, if you were stuck in the traffic, I'm sure you weren't very happy about that. So I think, I don't know, that's pretty much where we are at this point. The first thing, if the public safety building does go through, the first thing they'll be doing is building the parking lot between the Valve Center and the Dale Street School, so that they can get that done, so the teachers will have a place to park in the fall. Because the parking lot for that they currently use, the dirt parking lot on the opposite side of Dale Street from the school, will be used as part of the site. Mm-hmm. It eventually will have a parking lot there as well, but it's a 2-year construction period, I believe, between demolition and construction of the new building. So you got to have a place for them to park. And of course, we have the 40B down West Street that's going up quite quickly, so we'll have to see how that will impact the schools in the fall. I assume they will have started renting out the units by the fall, and I think we need to keep an eye on this 40B. I know people don't want to put any more housing in town. It's going to impact the schools, but under state law you have to. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do it the way the town wants it done, you'll get it done the way the developers can make the most money. And they're making a lot of money on some of these developments, and you're paying for it. You're not only paying for the services that will have to be provided to these developments, you're paying to build them, because they're being financed with state and federal tax credits. So the taxpayer is building the housing and is paying to service the housing, and the developers are getting all the money.
Yeah.
So.
But the taxpayer are paying for generations to come.
They will.
It doesn't end. It isn't just my generation. It keeps on going.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing.
It's a shame that we allow these things to happen, and nobody seems to be able to prevent them. So, and then I understand they're going to have a ballot question. I was reading today they're talking about a ballot question in 2016 about whether to have the Olympics in Boston.
Oh yeah, I heard that too.
I'm certainly opposed for it. With all the other needs we got, I think it's ridiculous and the taxpayer is going to get saddled with a huge bill. I say, It's going to be the taxpayers financing a party for the rich fat cats in Boston and Cambridge, so they can have a 17-day party. So I'm very much opposed to that.
So you're a no.
I think we have tons of other needs. Just look at what happened to the transit system this winter.
I'm a no too, but maybe I'll change my mind in the years to come. But as of now, I would vote no.
And the other thing that's very concerning is there's, as I understand, 2016. There's also going to be a question on to legalize recreational use of marijuana, and I think we need to get some more experience with what's going on in Colorado. Some of it not
and more expert
particularly
opinion
positive.
too.
Yes, I know the chief is against it. He was against the medical use of marijuana, and the district attorneys are all against it. The governor, the mayor of Boston, they've all come out against it.
A lot of the doctors were for it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe some of the doctors use marijuana recreationally. Who knows? But and it will probably pass. I mean, the medical use passed in Medfield 61%. I had somebody call up after and said, "We don't want one of those facilities in Medfield." I said, "Are you sure?" 61% of the voters in Medfield voted to allow medical use of marijuana, so I guess they must be supporting it.
I don't even smoke regular cigarettes anymore.
No, I don't either. But fortunately, I've been off that for about 40 years. So. Coming to Medfield stopped me smoking. I guess I quit shortly after I came to Medfield. So
it was a program at the Dale Street School that got my kids to nag me into stopping.
Yeah, yeah.
I still thank the Dale Street School for that program.
That's what I always say at the Solid Waste Committee. If you want to improve the recycling, get the kids to nag their parents to make sure they recycle more. So
yeah, I'm on that committee.
Yeah.
It's a great committee to be on.
It is, yeah. And really a great group of volunteers and staff that
yes, they really are.
The swap area, which will be opening not too distant future. What is it?
Should be.
Is it April 1st or May 1st?
If the snow ever moves.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, it has gone down pretty quickly. I mean, and luckily we didn't have too many roof collapses, although we had a tremendous number of ice dams. A lot of damage when all the snow's gone that people are finding that.
We had one in our house a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And then that same week we had one in our house in New Hampshire.
Oh, double trouble. Huh?
Same insurance company, and they never questioned it. I was really afraid that there would be a real problem. There were 2 houses in 2 days.
Yeah, well, I heard on the radio that I was listening to the radio during the work this morning, and they said that probably people were complaining about getting a justice to come out, and they said there's such a backlog of claims, but they said they think most of the claims will be honored. They think because the insurance companies aren't questioning.
I was very pleased with the response.
Yeah. Of course, it still is quite a disruption to people's lives when they have to, have things ripped apart and workmen in the house.
Yeah.
It's a major disruption to a lot of people, and it's unfortunate, but and of course we had that incident where a resident was killed falling through a skylight, which is a real tragedy. But I think Medfield stepped to the forefront on that one. So. But we survived.
We survived. We'll survive another election today and another town meeting in a couple weeks.
Yes. And in 20 years, we'll all be talking about the winter of 2015, and we'll have bragging rights.
In 20 years, I doubt if I will be here in 20 years.
Yes, I doubt. I don't think I will either. But somebody will be bragging about the way we bragged around the winter of the blizzard of '78.
My hope is that Medfield will stay the same good small town that it is today and it was when we moved in.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that people, when I sold real estate, a lot of the things that attracted people to Medfield was the downtown. Yes. And people walking around and the kids running and playing, and that was what the big thing, it looked like a family community.
Yes. Oh, incidentally, too, I understand we have a new library director.
Oh,
We'll be starting sometime in April. I haven't met her. I believe she's coming from some library in Rhode Island where she's been working, but she's due to start sometime in the beginning of April, I believe. So
interesting.
That's good. We've had new superintendent of schools. We have a new energy facilities manager, a new library director. So
someday maybe a new town administrator.
I hope so. Yes. I'll second the motion. So, as I used to tell you when you threaten to fire me all the time. So.
I'd say we're going to fire you, and you'd say, please, please.
Yes. Well, I'd always say I second the motion. You tell me I didn't have a vote. So.
You have anything else you want to add today?
Oh, I think I've spouted off long enough. I better get back to work. And
you'll come back in a couple weeks and spout again?
Anytime you want, I'll be here. So
okay.
Let me know. So.
And thanks everybody for watching Happenings in Medfield's Town Hall and Medfield in general with Mike Sullivan. I hope he'll be back again soon. And thank you once again for watching our show. Appreciate it.
This program was made possible through the generous support of your Medfield friends and neighbors, folks just like you. And thanks for watching.